show today. You may live in Los Angeles, Les Snead, but you've got that southern accent. You could be a country singer. You could honestly be a country singer. You look like a country singer. You sound like a country singer. I have great admiration for you.
That's a career that no one's ever told me I could be. I get the accent, but trust me, you wouldn't want me to start singing.
You played at Auburn, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
SEC country.
No, there's no question. It's got the most good players. We talk about Dak Prescott. Russell Wilson dropped to the 3rd round. And now you watch and you're like, what happened? Dak drops to the 4th round. So you looked at both players on tape. You knew both players. How much of Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott not being drafted early was the fear from the front office that if it didn't work, oh boy, you look bad? And that there's sometimes in your world, there are safer picks that if a Jared Goff doesn't work, well, a lot of people thought Jared Goff was going to be good. Do you ever feel a sense of pressure when you're making picks that it's a populous pick and it is a safe pick even if it doesn't work?
I don't think any of us really work, let's take fear. Hopefully you don't let fear, be the number one dominant variable in making a pick. But you're right, there is probability in, okay, this is a safer player because of X, Y, Z. And to be honest with you, it's probably A through Z. It's not just X, Y, Z. There's probably 24, a lot of variables. But I do think for whatever reason, and the Seahawks and especially the Cowboys know why they didn't pick those players in the 2nd round, chose to pick them in the 3rd and 4th.
It should be noted the Cowboys and Seahawks also passed on these players.
Right. And you know what? 3rd round and 4th round, guess what? They're good picks. They're good. We'd all, probably most kids growing up would say, you know what? You're going to get drafted by the Seattle Seahawks in the 3rd round and be their starting quarterback or have a chance to be their starting quarterback. Most kids would probably sign up on that. Probably, around junior year of high school?
You signed a player who I saw play in college called Cooper Kupp. Now, he played at Eastern Washington where I went to school. I watched his college career. He's going to be a 60-catch guy year 1. He learns your playbook. He's tough. He is sinewy. He is faster than people think. But it's interesting, FCS player. So all you GMs out there, Carson Wentz, who does Carson Wentz play? Take my audience as a general manager driving around right now around the country. The thought process of, okay, they're dominant players at a lower level of football. Were there reservations with Cooper Kupp, who, by the way, so far in camp I've heard has been terrific?
Right. I think what happens is, and that's why I love the 3rd round, love the 2nd round, because at the end of the day, you're probably getting a really good football player. Now, whether Cooper Kupp falls to the 3rd round or Cooper Kupp gets passed up by, let's just call it, a lot of Pac-12 teams, it's usually some type of physical trait that he didn't have. But a lot of times I like to say, you know what? Guess what? Cooper never had that physical trait to, let's say, be a 5 or 4-star. But what he did do, because he didn't have that trait, is learn how to go dominate a football game. When you put pads on, you put 11 on the field without that trait. And sometimes it makes that player smarter. And a lot of times I say in the 1st round, top 10, I like to call it the curse of the top 10 sometimes, because you're trying to find, yes, a good football player, but you're also trying to find that freak of nature because it's the top 10. And for whatever reason, he's a freak. So don't discount 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounders for sure.
There's a guy named Malcolm Gladwell who writes books, Blink, Tipping Point, Outliers. He says that 2nd and 3rd round picks 100 years from now or sooner, we'll look back and go, they were more valuable considering the cost than 1st round picks, which bust almost as much and cost you 2 to 3 times more.
You know what, Colin, too? Revisionist history, favorite podcast, Walking on the Strand during the summer. Love Malcolm and then I remember listening to that podcast last year, sometime during the summer, where he went into where he interviewed whomever, came up with the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are better than 1st rounders.
Half the guys in this league are undrafted. Les Snead joining us, LA Rams general manager. Okay, so here's Jared Goff, and I watched him in college, and I said I felt like the high end was Matt Ryan. That's what I thought. If things worked out, he would be Matt Ryan at the best. Takes his shirt off, doesn't blow me away physically, struggles last year under center. There are things that concern you. where are you emotionally? Like where is he at? He had a tough opening year. He's got a new staff. Now there's some pressure on him. Year one's one, year two. Where do you think he's at emotionally coming in? New staff, year two pressure. Where's he at?
It's interesting, too. I love your comparison. The last guy that probably went viral where takes his shirt off and it's not impressive, who comes to mind is QBs?
Jared Goff.
Well, and there's one other in the league playing now.
Who? Tom Brady.
There you go. Would love for that to work out, right? But probably has nothing to do with, shirt size and all of that. But here's going back to Jared. Right now, he's still 22 years old. Let's take Dak and Carson. They're 24 years old. He's right now of the 32 teams, guys listed number one at QB. He's the only 22-year-old, listed as a starting QB. So we drafted him for the long term. And what I do like about Jared is last year bothered him, but it didn't affect him. And by that I mean he didn't go in a hole. He didn't lose confidence. Obviously, he didn't go to the golf course to try to practice and get better at golf, considering what happened in Tahoe. But what I do know is when we did interview Sean McVay, and he was in a hotel not far from here, and we had always said we'd interview our first round of coaches, and then we might let them then meet some players like a Jared Goff, like an Aaron Donald, second round. But as we got to know Sean in that first interview, knew, okay, wait a minute, this guy's definitely getting a second interview. So picked up the phone, called Jared, hey, are you in town? Where are you at? Are you close? He was definitely close, came right down. Sean and him had a good conversation. I tell that story in that since that last game, again, hadn't taken many vacations, hadn't gotten better at golf, tried his best to get better at football. And I think we've seen that with the new offensive system through OTAs, and now we got to go through training camp, and obviously the games will speak for themselves.
Les Snead joining us, Rams general manager. One of the things I love about football, I love the structure of it. I love the analytics of it. It's not really about the player. It's about the systems winning this league. Really more than just players winning this league. Houston's had better talent, in my opinion, a lot of years than New England, but it's a certain system. Ultimately, I see Dan Quinn using a little bit of the Seahawks system. Pete Carroll and Belichick now are often duplicated or mimicked in some things. Do you have a football Bible, a belief system on what ideally as you're growing you'd like to be? Like, where are your football roots? If you were going to perfectly analyze what you are at your best, what is your football culture? What is your Bible of football belief to be absolutely true?
If I kept it real simple, and like you said, it's a system game. And you definitely, smarts and intelligence, very important, maybe more important than physical traits. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to get a chance in this league, there's going to be a certain element that you're going to meet a Mendoza line that you can play, and you've got the physical traits to do it. I think New England's proven that. Another thing similar to what you said about Cooper Kupp, instincts, and that's guess what? That's your central nervous system working together with your muscles and your brain, what you've soaked in, how you process it, how you do it quickly. Physics and geometry, that's instincts, right? As Cooper Kupp, maybe I'm not this fast, maybe I'm not this quick. So guess what? I got to use a different angle, find another way to get open. And then another thing, I think it's a short area, explosive game. So the quicker you can get on the opponent, whether it's blocking or trying to get off a block, the quicker you can engage with that person and do your thing on an individual level, that really helps. And now from there, I think it goes into systems. And a lot of times that's picking, the right coaching staff. And you look at us, we've had a good defense. We've been 4-3. We bring in Wade. He's 3-4. Everybody's like, uh-oh. And I could tell you there's some issues. If you actually do that, you could set yourself back. But by knowing the coaches, knowing the systems, Wade's 3-4, very similar in principle to our 4-3. And
you
he
also
likes to
drafted a linebacker.
Right. He likes to call it an under in defense. Hey, over the last 4 years, we like to pick players who were quick, who could get an edge, maybe disrupt in the backfield. Some 3-4s are what you hear is the old two gap, and there's bigger, stronger, less quicker players, but Wade's 3-4 system is very similar to ours. So you know what? You can bring in a Wade and everything fits and the puzzle fits. So I think, hey, the coaches, you got to have the right systems, and then you got to pick the players that are right for that system. And if you do it the other way around, you're probably going to mess this thing up.